Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here, and welcome back to another video on the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. In today's video, I've got my Game Week 27 top transfer targets. The way I've created this video is that it will be useful whether you're on your free hit or if you're just using your transfer, so hopefully everyone will find some use from it. We're also going to have a bit of a discussion around what teams you should be targeting from Game Week 27 through doubles in Game Week 28 and 29, and also blank Game Week and 30 as well. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So guys, I thought I would just start by having a bit of a discussion around which teams you should be targeting from Game Week 27 to Game Week 30 with your free transfers. And I've tried going as broad as possible with this because I think there are a lot of different chip strategies. Lots of people have used their chips earlier on in the season. Lots of people just don't know what to do with their chips and maybe want to save them for the back end of the season when there's a bit more clarity as to exactly which teams are playing, which teams have stuff to play for, and then maybe like playing for like a bench boost in 36, etc. So I've just highlighted 5 teams that regardless of your chip strategy, regardless of which chips you have left, I think these are 5 teams that are definitely worth targeting. So if we start with Wolves, I like Wolves for a number of reasons. I think the fixture in 27 is decent enough against West Ham. They've got arguably the best double in Game Week 28, Crystal Palace at home and Watford at home. Everton away in 29 is really nice. And then I think they probably have the best fixture in blank Game Week 30, Leeds at home. So if you get on a triple Wolves, you have them for a decent fixture in 27, a double in 28, a nice fixture in 29, and arguably the best fixture in blank Game Week 30. And then even after blank Game Week 30, if you're not looking to wildcard in 31, or if you've already used your wildcard, Wolves have Aston Villa and Newcastle immediately after blank Game Week 30. So you can even hold them for a little bit longer. And the fixtures just across the remainder of the season really aren't that bad. So maybe like a double up in defence plus a Jimenez wouldn't be a bad shout there. The second team on this list is Leeds. Leeds have a very, very similar setup to Wolves. They have a decent enough fixture in 27, although I wouldn't really necessarily want to be targeting many Leeds players against Tottenham. You've then got arguably the second best, I would say, double in Game Week 28. Leeds away, Leicester away, and Aston Villa at home. Really decent fixtures there. Really nice fixture in 29, Norwich at home. And then, of course, they play Wolves in blank Game Week 30 confirmed. I would probably prefer to have Wolves players than Leeds players, but you might want to go for like a Rafinha or a Dan James in there. And then similar to Wolves, they have 2 decent fixtures after Game Week 30 as well, Southampton and Watford for Leeds. So I do think, for example, Rafinha might be a nice option over this sort of 6 or 7 game week period. The next team is Aston Villa. Aston Villa have, again, a similar setup to Leeds and Wolves, but I don't really like the fixtures that much outside of their double game week. So Brighton this week is okay. We saw that Burnley put a few goals past them in Game Week 26, so it might not be a bad fixture. The double game week is really nice, Southampton at home and Leeds at home. But then they've got West Ham, Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham. So not the best fixtures. But again, the nice thing about Villa is they're confirmed to play in Game Week 30. And so I really, really do like them for that reason. Southampton are the next team on here. Southampton have, again, a very similar setup, but we don't know for sure that they're going to play in blank Game Week 30. So that will depend on the FA Cup tie between West Ham and Southampton. If Southampton beat West Ham, Southampton will not play in blank Game Week 30. So that's something to look at. So really, if you want Southampton players, you're hoping that West Ham win that game and Southampton have that game, therefore, available in blank Game Week 30. But they do have Norwich, Villa and Newcastle was the double in 28. Again, a really nice double. Watford in Game Week 29. If they do play in blank Game Week 30, it'll be against Burnley. Then Leeds in 31. So again, Southampton might be a nice team to target. The likes of Broja, Livramento, potentially Ward-Prowse. We'll discuss a few of those in today's video. And then the final team is Burnley for similar reasons. They don't have the double in 28, but they of course have the double in 27. So you could be looking to target someone like a Weghorst in 27. Against Chelsea in 28 isn't ideal, but if you can get away with benching Weghorst in 28, then that's absolutely fine. Then you've got Brentford in Game Week 29, and then that should say Burnley, apologies. Oh, no, it should say Southampton, of course. Southampton in blank Game Week 30. That will be the fixture. If Southampton do lose to West Ham, it will be Southampton versus Burnley in Game Week 30. And then they've got Manchester City in 31, isn't ideal. But again, if you can get away with benching them in 28 and benching them in 31, you've then got a really nice fixture against Norwich in Game Week 32 as well. So these are the 5 teams that, like I said, if you're not sure on your chip strategy or you just don't have a lot of chips available, I would be targeting these 5 teams with my transfers. There are some other teams in and around these that are decent. For example, Arsenal, apart from not playing in Game Week 27, I would argue that they've got the best set of fixtures. They've got a decent fixture in 28 against Watford. They double in 29 and they play in blank Game Week 30. And then the fixtures for the remainder of the season are really nice. The only reason Arsenal aren't on here this week is they don't play in blank Game Week 27. So I'm not going to advise bringing them in for a blank game week. But outside of that, I think Arsenal are another nice team to target. And then you might want to target some other teams in and around that. But I think if you're trying to cover doubles in 28 and 29, trying to cover 27, and also trying to cover blank game week 30 without playing your free hit, these are the 5 teams I'll be targeting. So with all of that in mind, let's take a look at my top transfer targets for game week 27 and beyond. So, of course, Southampton were on that list there. As we said, we've spoken about the fixtures already. Really nice fixtures in the immediate short term. Norwich, Villa, Newcastle and Watford in the next 3 game weeks is absolutely fantastic. And therefore, whether you're on your free hit in this week or you're just using your transfers, I do think that you should be looking to bring in at least 1 or 2 Southampton players. Southampton look very good recently as well. Hasenhüttl's getting a lot out of that Southampton side. And I do think they'll continue to improve across the back end of the season with their fully fit squad as well. The 2 choices that I've chosen to present here are Armando Broja and James Ward-Prowse. I do think their defenders are good shouts as well. Maybe Livramento, maybe Bednarek, maybe you go for a Kyle Walker-Peters. I do like their options as well. They've tightened up in defence. But for this video, I've focused on the 2 attackers. And like I said, if you're on your free hit, I like both of these options as well. But transfers in particular, because you get the next 3 game weeks, 4 brilliant fixtures as well. The only thing to note with Southampton is they don't have any fixtures to be rearranged. So what you see is what you get. But realistically, they're pretty nice fixtures and I wouldn't mind getting these. We just have to hope that they play in blank game week 30 and the fixtures will look even better. If we compare the underlying statistics from Broja and Ward-Prowse, I will just start by saying that they're not that brilliant for either of them, but there are some nuances between them. And I do think I have a slight favourite if you're looking at the long term at least. If we look at projected points over the next 6 game weeks, Ward-Prowse does come out on top. We'll see in a minute. The reason for that is likely just he's playing so many more minutes than Broja, and therefore that needs to be taken into consideration. Expected FPL points per 90 over the first sort of 26 game weeks. You can see that Broja is coming out on top, which is impressive considering the fact that midfielders tend to have better expected FPL points because they get an extra point for a goal and an extra point for a clean sheet. But Broja's doing pretty well there at 5.42. When we look at non-penalty expected goals and expected assists per 90 over the entire season, Broja definitely comes out on top at 0.36. I wouldn't say that's particularly impressive, but it is very consistent. Even if you try and manipulate the sample size, Broja tends to maintain a very similar expected goal involvement per 90. It's pretty much purely expected goals. So 0.35 of that is expected goals, 0.01 is expected assists. So you're not getting much creativity with Broja. If you do get an assist, it's probably going to be like a rebounded shot. And he is quite a decent goal threat at 0.35 expected goal involvement per 90. You can see Ward-Prowse is quite poor at 0.22. That being said, this is non-penalty expected goals. When you put expected goals in general, you include penalties because he does take penalties for Southampton. It goes to 0.32 expected goal involvement per 90. So you should take penalties into account, but because they're so difficult to predict, we do exclude them when we're looking at a statistical comparison. And therefore, it's not the best underlying statistics. However, in recent weeks, Ward-Prowse has actually made significant improvements. So he's expected assists in the last 6 game weeks is 0.4 for Ward-Prowse. So you're getting a pretty decent creativity threat, at least in recent weeks for Ward-Prowse. And I just think he looks very good, gets the extra point for the clean sheet, and Norwich this week and Villa, Newcastle and Watford outside of that are decent fixtures for clean sheets. He's got a fantastic set-piece delivery, whether it be direct free kicks, indirect free kicks or corners. And I just think he's a fairly exciting pick. Whenever you see him step up for a corner, free kick, penalty, whatever it may be, you're feeling fairly confident that he could put that in the back of the net. So the underlying statistics do suggest that Broja is the one, but when you incorporate penalties, I do think that Ward-Prowse gets close to Broja. Big chances per 90. Broja, of course, comes out on top at 0.51. That is very impressive. He's getting a big chance every 2 games, which is quite nice for a cheap striker. 0.13 for Ward-Prowse isn't that great, but considering he plays a sort of like a holding midfielder or a number 8 role, I don't mind that for Ward-Prowse. And then touches in the box, again, very impressive for Broja at 5.13. 0.75 for Ward-Prowse isn't that great, but again, he plays fairly deep line. And what you're looking for is those set pieces, those penalties, the odd long shot, and then also some creativity. So when you look at the underlying statistics, just at first glance, per 90 statistics, Broja does come out on top. But there are a few things to look at here. The first to say is that Broja doesn't tend to see out 90 minutes, right? He has played 90 minutes in the past, but he tends to see between like 75 and 80 minutes. Sometimes he'll come off after 60 minutes, especially when Armstrong's back, when you've got the likes of Che Adams as well. They do have a few options to take Broja off early. And I think in these games, we're expecting them to be maybe 1 or 2 goals up towards the back end of the game, and therefore Broja might potentially be rested. So when you actually account for game time, they're actually fairly comparable between Ward-Prowse and Broja, and Broja's underlying statistics don't look this good when you just do per start rather than looking at per 90 minutes. So that is something to bear in mind. And the other thing is, if you're on a free hit, the underlying statistics are so close that you might just want to take a gamble on someone like Ward-Prowse. For example, Norwich have fairly poor statistics from conceding from set pieces. So you might just want to say, do you know what? I might pick Ward-Prowse because I'm expecting them to maybe get a couple of chances from corners and free kicks. Also, Norwich have given away the most penalties in the league this season. So again, if Southampton get a penalty, that looks fairly good for the immediate game week. So if you're on your free hit, I think it's a lot closer. Long term, despite the fact that he's not playing 90 minutes and despite the fact that the statistics are close when you account for playing time, I think I still prefer Broja. The main reason for that is he's £1.1 million cheaper, and that needs to be taken into account. And also, I just think there are significantly better midfielders as options than there are in attack. And I think you can get similar sort of output from the likes of from the likes of Rafinha. You might want to go for some other options in midfield over the coming game weeks that I think are good. You might want to go for like a Podence or a Neto if you like the Wolves players, even a Cornet in midfield. I do think there are quite a few options either at Ward-Prowse's price or cheaper, whereas Broja, I don't think you can get that sort of value at 5.4 million up top. So, like I said, free hit, I think it's your choice. I'm actually leaning towards Ward-Prowse just for the reasons that I've mentioned. But if I were making a transfer this week, I definitely think I prefer Broja just due to price and also due to the positioning of him being a striker. Let me know down below, are you considering any Southampton players, Broja or Ward-Prowse? Or are you maybe going for the defenders? As I said, Livramento, Bednarek and also Kyle Walker-Peters are fantastic options in defence as well. So the next two players to look at are Coutinho and Jimenez. I've said Coutinho and Jimenez here rather than versus because they're in different positions and I think they're both fantastic options, mainly for the reasons we discussed at the start of the video with fixtures. As I said at the start, I do think I prefer Jimenez's fixtures and Wolves' fixtures in particular. I think Palace, Watford, Everton, Leeds, Villa, Newcastle from 28 onwards is really nice. So even if you don't want to target Jimenez this week, from 28 onwards is a really fantastic option. Of course, Wolves' data is better from a defensive aspect than it is from an attacking aspect. So you might potentially want to go for a Sice, Cody, Ait-Nouri, Kilman over Jimenez. But I really think you could potentially go for a double up or a triple up. I don't dislike Villa's fixtures, but I just think that West Ham, Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham, after that double in 28, are decent but not fantastic. The great thing about Coutinho, of course, is that he definitely plays in blank game week 30. Of course, Aston Villa also have one more fixture to be rearranged. That is Burnley at home, so that might make you lean towards Coutinho and that you get an extra fixture in there, whereas all of Wolves' fixtures have now been rearranged and they're not blanking in game week 30. So we're unlikely to get any more doubles for Wolves for the remainder of the season. When we take a look at their underlying statistics, it is quite difficult to compare Coutinho because he's not played that many minutes. He's only played 354 since returning to the Premier League, whereas Jimenez has played 1,822. So you would naturally expect that maybe Coutinho's statistics would be inflated slightly due to the small sample size. When we look at their projected points over the next 6 game weeks, it is actually Jimenez coming out on top. That's due to expected minutes and also due to the fixtures being slightly better. Expected FPL points per 90 from the games that they've played this season. Coutinho is coming out on top at 5.42 versus Jimenez's 4.48. A similar discussion to what we had in the previous section with Broja versus Ward-Prowse, though. Coutinho is more likely to get those early substitutions. Now, Jimenez has been coming off early occasionally as well, but I think Coutinho is more likely to get those sort of 60, 70 minutes if Villa are in the lead, whereas Jimenez will see out maybe 80, 85 minutes. Expected goal involvement per 90, non-penalty expected goal involvement. Coutinho is highly impressive since returning to the Premier League. We're looking at a 0.60 non-penalty expected goal involvement per 90. That includes a 0.35 non-penalty expected goals and 0.25 expected assists. So Coutinho is a massive goal threat. He's also showing some good creativity as well. And it is making me tempted to potentially bring him in game week 28. Because if you bring him in 28, you get Southampton, Leeds. You then get West Ham, which isn't the best fixture in the world, but isn't too bad considering what we've seen from them from a defensive aspect. And then you've also got game week 30 against Arsenal, which again isn't the best fixture, but at least you have a player in blank game week 30. So I am definitely considering Coutinho for those reasons. Jimenez's 0.36 is similar to Broja's. It's exactly the same as Broja's. And you may think, well, why would I want to pay an extra 2 million for Jimenez over a Broja? And you may well be right. But the thing I like about Jimenez is that I do think that the fixtures are the best in the league from 28 onwards for Wolves. And I also think you do have penalties as well. So similar to Ward-Prowse, yes, the non-penalty data isn't that fantastic. But if you think they might get 1 or 2 penalties across that time, you're bumping up his non-penalty expected, his penalty expected goal involvement above 0.4. And at that stage, it's starting to look significantly better. So not mind-blowing for Jimenez, but when you look at the fixtures, put penalties into the equation as well, I don't mind his underlying statistics. Big chances per 90. Coutinho's getting 1 every 4 games, and Jimenez is getting roughly 1 every 2 and a bit games. And then touches in the box, Jimenez, again, similar to Broja, and we've got very similar underlying statistics to Broja here. 5.14 touch in the box per 90 for Jimenez, 3.56, I should say, for Coutinho per 90. Touch maps-wise, Jimenez's looks really good. He gets a lot of touches. He's very involved in the action. He does drop deep sometimes, but as you can see by the touches in the box, he does get involved in the action as well. Coutinho's, it's very difficult to see just due to the limited amount of game time that we've seen since he's returned to the Premier League. So Again, I'm not saying choose one over the other. This is not a comparison for this section. I'm saying that I think both Coutinho and Jimenez are fantastic options in their own right. And the underlying statistics, for different reasons, are good for both of them. I like the fixtures as well. If I were on a wild card in Game Week 27 or Game Week 28, I'm almost certain I would have both Coutinho and Jimenez for the reasons I've listed. Let me know down below, do you already own Coutinho? Do you already own Jimenez? If not, are you looking to bring either of these in? For the same reasons that I've mentioned here, I also like the defensive assets from these two teams. So I think Luka Dean, Matty Cash, Saiss, Cody, Kilman, or Ait Nuri are all fantastic options as well. And you could potentially go for either of those keepers in Martinez or Sarr as well. So the final two players to consider here are Cornet and Weghorst. Of course, the reason for that is that Burnley are the only team to double in Game Week 27. And as such, I think a lot of us will probably already own maybe one of Cornet and Weghorst and maybe looking to double up in the attack. For me, I do think that the data would suggest that doubling up in defence is probably the more sensible way to go. So maybe something like a Pope, me, and Weghorst if you're going for the triple up. And if you are only going for a double up, I think covering the Burnley defence with one defender and then covering the attack with Weghorst or Cornet, I do think is probably the more sensible move. But just in case, I thought I'd consider both of these and discuss whether one has the significantly better underlying statistics than the other. Of course, neither of these have played many minutes. We've got Cornet at 980 minutes and Weghorst obviously recently came to the Premier League, only played 343 minutes. Projected points over the next 6 game weeks, they're actually favouring Weghorst, the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm. The reason for that, again, is he's more likely to play 90 minutes in these games and the underlying statistics are better than Cornet's. Expected FPL points per 90, Cornet actually comes out on top at 5.69 versus Weghorst 5.51. Both of those are highly impressive. Non-penalty expected goals and expected assists, there is a clear favourite, and it is the one that you would expect that I'm going to advise you to bring in. 0.25 for Cornet is pretty poor, actually. We're looking at sort of similar to Ward-Prowse, and Ward-Prowse is a deep line midfielder that only really gets forward for sort of set pieces and long shots, so 0.25 really isn't good for Cornet. Weghorst is at 0.47, is good, not great, but you would say it definitely warrants or justifies the £6.5 million price tag, and in a double game week, I think that's absolutely fine considering he's the only player, they're the only team to double. Big chances per 90, neither of them are particularly impressive. Cornet's getting a big chance every 5 games. Weghorst is getting a big chance every 4 games. So across a double game week, you may be looking at 1 or 2 big chances for each of them, but nothing mind-blowing there. And then touches in the box, pretty much identical. 3.43 for Cornet, 3.41 for Weghorst. So basically, the underlying statistics for either aren't that great. And if they didn't have a double game week, I personally wouldn't be that keen on bringing in Cornet and Weghorst myself. I just think that Burnley aren't that great from an attacking perspective. The underlying statistics aren't great for Weghorst or Cornet. But I think if you're looking to bring in one and you're going to captain them in 27, I really don't mind that. I personally wouldn't be on the double up in attack, whether you're on your free hit or not. For me, it's one of Cornet or Weghorst. But like I said, if you want to have a bit of fun with it, I don't have any issue with having a bit of fun with it, going for Cornet and Weghorst. But the data definitely suggests probably only going for one. And if you're only going for one, I personally prefer Weghorst. The other reason that I would lean towards Weghorst, other than just looking at the per 90 statistics, is that again, Cornet, similar to the discussions we've had earlier with the likes of Ward-Prowse, he's unlikely to play with the likes of Broja, he's unlikely to play 90 minutes in many games. And with his injury concerns that he's had and the amount of times he picks up injuries, I wouldn't be surprised if Cornet only plays sort of 110, 120 minutes across the double game week. So for me, if you already own Cornet, I don't mind him at all. I maybe wouldn't even be looking to captain him if I did own him though. And if you're looking to bring one in, I personally prefer Weghorst. Let me know down below, are you going to double up in attack? Are you looking to maybe double up on defence? Or are you just going to have maybe no Burnley players? Maybe you don't trust them enough. What I would say is if you're not going to bring them in this week, I just would ignore Burnley players. Yes, they might play in Game Week 30 against Southampton, which is great, but Chelsea, Brentford, Southampton, City, Norwich, when you look at their attacking output, those fixtures aren't good enough for me when other teams have doubles to personally be looking at them. So if you're going to bring them in, do it this week. I would be looking at Weghorst, but let me know down below which Burnley players you are considering. So guys, there you have it. That is a bit of a discussion around teams to target over the upcoming game weeks and also 6 players that I would be targeting with my transfers for both Game Week 27, 28, 29 and Game Week 30 as well. Hopefully it also helps for those of you that are on your free hit, maybe choosing between the likes of Broja and Ward-Prowse and also maybe like Weghorst and Cornet as well. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe. We do massively appreciate the support. And if you like any of the features that I've used today, such as the player touch maps, the fixture analyzer, the underlying statistics as well, you can find all of that stuff over at fantasyfootballfix.com. So do make sure to go and check out the website after you've watched this video. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.